Send Us the Cure speech by Robert Winkler Burke, that's me, here in Reno, Nevada, 11/9/2017. This speech is on the U.S. financial system and is entitled, Send Us the Cure. Everybody complains about the weather, but nobody does anything about it, said Charles Dudley Warner in 1873. Later, this line was repeated by Mark Twain. And if you redact another line from the 1971 Fiddler on the Roof musical, Tevye said, "We've got the sickness already, send us the cure." Hence, my speech is as follows. Our national, even global financial sickness is hard to describe with precision for the very reason it has been designed to be exactly so. The U.S. is supposed to be a moral place, a sane place, and therefore an upbeat, happy place, indeed a place with a future. I will describe to you now how morality and sanity and future happiness has been systematically removed. Then I will describe how to restore U.S. finances to a more happy, sane, and moral conclusion. On July 4th, the Declaration, on July 4th, 1776, a declaration was signed in Independence Hall, Pennsylvania, by 56 genius patriots. This statement is the basis for American morality, sanity, and upbeat happiness. It said, quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed," unquote. This statement covers a whole lot of territory. It is grounded in a thing called common sense philosophy, which rejects in toto today's weird, creepy, and decline-making progressive philosophy, as I have mentioned in my previous speeches, which I recommend to you. Prague decline-making philosophy is based on A, the tyrant's favorite motto, used to crush boots on the necks of citizens: morals are relative. And B, no proposition can be proved true, a saying from Hegel designed to favor boot tread makers and their sales to tyrants. And C, the Prague argument is above all other arguments, since no Prague-booted neck smasher will ever stoop so low as to consider any other argument. Note to audience, I exaggerate wildly, using poetic license, if you will, in order to successfully gainsay and smash outright the Prague decline arguments of insanity. Well, our brilliant founding fathers knew a thing or two. They were on the far right flat line of the intelligence bell curve. In effect, they eschewed the circular trope of smart but not as smart as the founding fathers, because these miscreants collect power on the right lip of the intelligence bell curve and rearrange rules to self-deal in favor alone the right lip progressive, smart but not that smart overlords. Our exceptional founding fathers knew how to live on that right lip and enshrine their families' last names as future presidents and leaders of the nation. Adams, perhaps, then Jefferson, then perhaps Madison, then Adams, Jefferson, repeat ad nauseum. Have you noticed how the uni-party of Bush, Clinton, Obama almost set this up to repeat forever? But our humble, almost holy, founding fathers were much better than that sorry state of affairs. They set up a self-correcting, non-oligarchic system of a constitutional republic, and it quickly went from farm poor to industrial rich. This self-correcting constitutional republic thrived until 1900, when Germanic thought began to systematically deconstruct 1776 common sense philosophy. By 2017, then, the deconstruction of our self-correcting constitutional republic is almost complete. The system became an horrid oligarchy of insanity, a uniparty swamp needing draining and full of mostly fat cats munching on a sub-taught, which is to say progressive, brainwashed mice people. But as the Beatles sang, there's nothing you can do that can't be done. It implies There's nothing done that can't be undone. What they, the progressive decline mind monsters, did can indeed be undone. At the heart of the matter, the deepest, or one of the deepest cures for America might be to fix what has become the most broken. And it goes to a key phrase of the Declaration of Independence, redacted as follows: to secure rights, governments are instituted among men, that we, the people, have life, liberty, and the pursuit of property and happiness. Note that I added the pursuit of property to the pursuit of happiness. The Founding Fathers originally wrote it property, but that seemed to indicate slave ownership, which they foresaw needed to be removed when that time became possible. They replaced the word property with happiness, a clever move which implied that slavery could not be happiness and therefore could not be property, while still implying the proper rights of man, which include property, so long as property doesn't include slave ownership, of course. Anyway, the point for us now is that government is instituted among men, that is to say, our government protects our pursuit of property and also our property. If we lived on a hill above the ocean shore and pirates came every 100 years and stole 95% of our property, we would be angry at our government for being remiss to stop such piracy. Any fool can see this. Government's job is to protect our property, not hurt it. However, in 1913, the government wrongly enabled a cartel of elite bankers to create, own, and run a thing called the Federal Reserve, which has been responsible for devaluing the American dollar by 95% in 100 years. They did this on purpose. They call it a good thing, but they were too clever by half. What these self-serving bankers did is no different than if all Americans lived on a hill above the ocean shore, and pirates came by and stole 95% of our dollars. And since in America, Americans earn dollars and save dollars, we should be mighty concerned about this so-called legal progressive decline making on purpose piracy. Restated, on purpose, the Federal Reserve works tirelessly for the express purpose of causing decline in value in the dollars Americans earn and save. This stinks. It is done on purpose as a hidden tax on citizens so that government pays its debts back with a currency of higher numerical value but lower intrinsic value. This is immoral. It is wrong. This has to stop. Any citizens who are A, generally intelligent, B, moral, and C, lovers of laws in the U.S. Constitution can see this. The Federal Reserve has been robbing the public for the sake of the government to the tune of 95% of its dollars from the last century. Let us then, with patience, look at just what the Federal Reserve is and why it was created. The Federal Reserve is America's central bank. What is the reason oft given for the need for a central bank? Well, it is said a central bank is a backstop for common banks. Common banks need central banks to bail themselves out if they run into trouble and run out of money. This prevents common citizens from losing money if their bank runs out of money. But why would common banks run out of money? And why aren't there equivalent backstops, government backstop organizations for butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, plumbers, dry cleaners, grocery store owners, etc.? The reason is that banks are set up with a corrupt system called fractional reserve lending. If a depositor puts $1,000 into a common bank savings account, typically $900 is lent out to the next bloke, say, for example, to buy a car. When that car seller deposits the $900 in his or her bank, $810 is lent out to the next bloke, etc. If all the original and subsequent depositors ask for their money back, then the bank is caught with not enough money because so many loans were made on the original deposit. The bank cannot return the, quote, savings, unquote, to its depositors. Then a central bank appears to lend the money to the struggling bank. Now, it is interesting, this doesn't happen to butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, or other mere citizens. It is only to privileged bankers. The problem is that this corrupt system has begotten an even much more corrupt system. Central bankers have enlarged their powers to realms no human should ever go. They manage to get leaders and lawmakers to enact more laws which allow for corruption unimagined by the devil in the Garden of Eden. Our central bank, the Federal Reserve, prints money when the government needs money. It prints it out of nothing. It charges interest for the privilege, and it also sets interest rates for the nation. Forget individuals discovering a price between buyer and seller. No, our central bankers must overlord and intervene with their price setting, a despicable habit which causes untold grief and mayhem globally. These are godlike powers indeed. As gods, they destroy the value of money. Our founding fathers knew that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Our Federal Reserve, a private cabal of elite bankers, have created a thoroughly corrupt system which has indeed corrupted themselves absolutely. The answer is to simply disband the Federal Reserve and to reenact a gold standard. Allow the U.S. Treasury to redeem 1 ounce of gold to, say, $50,000. Then don't let bankers make derivative bets. Then have banks make only hard money loans. Then let the free market set interest rates. Then have the federal government renege or default on 95% of its debt. Good riddance to garbage, as garbage debt was created in a garbage-minded system on no semblance of reality. The con masters of Prague insanity end up conning only themselves. What they did will inevitably have its way with them. Then have banks form associations of insurance to protect against bank runs, then reject offers of other central banks or IMF-style banks above central banks to manage affairs or proffer bailouts in emergencies. In fact, outlaw IMF-style banks from interfering. IMF would be global organization banks above central banks. Forget all that. Why do this? Because man is not God, nor are associations of men God. Central banks have played God, and they have proved themselves to be lousy, rotten gods. Financial government man is not a prophet knowing when to goose an economy by putting the gas pedal down to the floor when such a man prophesies. Nor is financial government man a prophet knowing when to slam on the brakes on an economy by reading some tea leaves or animal entrails. In other words, how do they know in advance what 7 billion other men and women cannot normally know in advance? We must thoroughly reject the idea a central bank or central authority or central committee can raise or lower interest, raise or lower the money supply, raise or lower the price of a trip to a whorehouse for that matter. It is the job of the markets to set all prices, meaning it is the natural way of things that prices are set by individuals willing to exchange money for goods and services. And never is it the job of false prophet progressive overlords to top-down force evil imaginings in the form of negative zero or risibly low interest rates upon a hapless public. If animal spirits become too greedy or fearful, so be it. The economy will bubble up or the economy will crash, and no central higher prophetic power authority in government can assuage one part or the other. In fact, the reverse is true. Central authority will invariably make all matters worse when trying to manage the economy's collection of individuals set upon greed, fear, or any other emotion. Crystal words of wisdom indeed are, let it be. Let that which cannot be managed by overlords be managed by self-same man's own mismanagement. If we be too greedy, too fearful, too hesitant, too impulsive, the only cure is the immediate consequences, unguided by the heavy hand of tyrannical government, of being exactly that, too greedy, too fearful, too hesitant, too impulsive, or whatnot. The direct cure for individual excess is individual excess itself, unenlarged or undiminished by some supposed all-seeing prophetic council of Federal Reserve banksters. These bankers are not gods over us. They are not prophets of anything. The cure for what ails the United States of America, and indeed the world, is that we all need what we do to have its way with us, as direct as possible, as quick as possible, with the least government interference as possible, which in the end is as merciful as possible, and most importantly, as ameliorating as possible. Will this cure hurt? Yes, absolutely. But we are hurting massively already. Cures usually hurt. then things get better. If we do nothing, however, nothing gets better. Let there be no FDIC. There are no angels to organize ourselves. Let the buyer beware. Let banks form insurance collectives to guarantee themselves. Let government spending be disciplined by gold, since neither gold nor man can currently, neither God nor man can do the job. The goal in every remedy is to be A, generally intelligent, B, moral, C, worthy of respect to laws and the U.S. Constitution. Let gold in reality discipline man. Restated, man under God wisely submits to the standard of gold, because wise man under God knows he cannot be trusted with absolute fiat money power. Hence, our printed dollars shall be converted one for one from Federal Reserve notes backed by meaningless fiat unto gold-backed notes redeemable by the U.S. Treasury in gold to the measure, say, for example, 1 ounce equals $50,000. This solution does not include a partial gold-backed system, as a partial standard is meaningless, just as it is meaningless in morality to be partially moral. Either you are or you aren't. Either it is or it isn't. Let there be no tax on the appreciation of gold, since gold is money, and the appreciation is really a reflection on inflation being government's theft via debasement of fiat currency printing of something out of nothing shenanigans. In other words, the gain was already taxed because of the gain. If the U.S. government has insufficient gold, then let it sell assets to citizens. It is high time our government, founded in 1776, returned to A, general intelligence, B, morals, and C, honor unto law and the U.S. Constitution. Our original Constitution included a gold standard and not a central bank. Our original government was moral, but we now know that fiat money system is not. Neither is our central bank. It cannot be. When Nixon took the U.S. off its partial gold standard in 1971, it unleashed theft by government from citizens via money printing, inflation, to its citizens as well as to other countries and their citizens who followed this ruse. Fiat money is not moral. The successor to Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, campaigned against under the banner of a carny lie, win, W-I-N, meaning whip inflation now. This was meant to make citizens feel guilty somehow of raising prices of things. But inflation is caused by the Federal Reserve printing money, not by citizens. The Fed is a con shop. That is all. 100 years ago, in the teens of the 20th century, immoral, which is to say morals are relative tyrants in the making, progressives, they instituted many mistaken reforms that caused our government to no longer act in ways that are generally intelligent, moral, or in line with laws and the U.S. Constitution. The progressives succeeded in their mentality con game at that time. They were then, now, and will continue to be the, quote, towering geniuses, unquote, who Abraham Lincoln warned against in his 1838 Lyceum speech. Progressive thought teaches, quote, morals are relative, unquote, and how tyrants love that expression as they steal, kill, and destroy happiness. Is it okay, then, to steal and kill and destroy 95% of citizens' wealth? In the year 2117, let not the citizens of the U.S. then say that we of 2017 kept the morals are relative for tyrants system of the Federal Reserve, and that by 2117, another 95% of our dollar's value was stolen, once again, by proud that they are immoral, progressive pirates. We shall then reinstall a gold standard for the U.S. Doing so will be a much-needed repudiation of progressive morals are relative, a good thing for tyrants kind of thought. Reinstituting a gold standard will announce to man, God, devils, angels, and the universe that U.S. citizens believe what its founding fathers believed, that man is capable of truly great but also truly awful things, and that in the knowledge of this, we, the people, choose U.S. money to be gold-backed, not the fiat progressive decline concept of it depends on what is. Mental shenanigans, which sadly overwhelmed the minds of our grandparents and great-grandparents. They were hornswoggled by Prague towering genius ruses of enslavement via not chains but neurolinguistic obfuscation, mind shenanigans. These are the worst chains of all. Fool us once, we shall learn of it, no matter how great the so-called towering genius. Piracy is piracy. 95% of our money stolen in 100 years. Fool us twice, no. Give us gold-backed currency, not fiat. The U.S. money system must be moral. Indeed, the future has always been 1776, and not the Prague Mayhem 1984 house of crazy. We can return to the spirit of 76 once again and have a government which protects the rights of property and the pursuits of happiness. What about cryptocurrencies? Could not towering genius Pragues develop some convincing scheme for which we should believe them, this time to be true and honest? Yes, towering genius no doubt will. This is why we, of course, say no to cryptocurrencies as they are man-made. Gold is not, hence we choose the not made by man standard gold. Restated, we choose not to experiment with another man-made financial system creation for the next 100 years. Whereas the last century proved Prague towering genius creators and defenders of the Federal Reserve needed to be put into insane asylums, bespoke with straitjackets and padded cell rooms, we shall not again be tricked into awaiting another 100 years to discover the new crypto digital remedy for man-made currency equivalents ends up no different than did the it depends on what is fiat currencies of unending debasement. Cryptos backed by nothing? No. Gold is three-dimensional. It is distributed planet-wide. It is almost indestructible. If more is discovered in space travel, yes, proceed as in 1492, yet still with all morals, intelligence, and legality. Old school is best school, not the Prague immoral school. Trust but verifying gold, not man's imaginary, valueless vapor of what is. We choose to stop our central bank of towering genius idiocracy. We choose to not steal 95% of our progeny's wealth in the next 100 years. We shall have a gold standard. We see, and we see clearly, what towering genius con jobs have done. We, the people, shall form a more perfect union by rejecting the progressive lie of the century that morals are somehow relative, that printing money is not theft, that fiat currency is not insanity writ large, that by righting our financial ship of state, we return to ourselves general intelligence, morality, and love of laws in the U.S. Constitution. This will be unto us happiness. This is the cure. Without it, we die financially and are slaves to a debt-based system wherein we are ever more saddled with debt, while the masters of debt are happily wearing spurs of central bank paying plans of infinite idiocracy. But with the cure of gold backing our dollars and the elimination of central banks and the cabal of fraudulent fractional banking, our currency in gold will be what it should be, a store and state of value, and not what idiots try to get us to have confidence in, a con game of fiat economic Potemkin village systems of nothing but brain-twisting, bizarro, berserker, insanity gone exponentially exotic in error land. So now we choose to change the financial weather. We choose not to be chained by mental con games of the smart but not that smart, towering geniuses of Babel. We choose gold-backed currency. We choose sanity. We choose to not trust central planning or central false prophet, goose throttle, break hard bankers. Ever. The pirates of asset pinching are going to really hate this future. We, the brave people of liberty's blessed United States of America, are going to love it. Now, let us begin then this great love cure. Let them hate it, let us love it. Let us say hello and welcome to our property's future security, and with it, our happiness. We say adieu to the wretched hell of evaporating property and ever-increasing debt piled upon ever-increasing debt. Madness is madness, no matter how it is described as heaven by the mind masters of progressive decline. Let us shake hands with better and reestablish a gold-backed currency system and forgo central bank Prague madness. Now we say goodbye to insanity. We say hello to sanity. We say goodbye to insanity, hello to sanity. We have missed you. and hello prosperity, hello happiness. It will be indeed such a happy day. The cure is going to hurt, but then in blessed financial health and civil sanity, we shall sing in individual buy-sell harmony. Yes, as individual buyers and sellers discovering price without an overlord false prophecy, alliance of idiots intervention, we will want to sing, "Oh happy day, this is the cure. Oh happy day, this is the cure. Oh happy day, this is the cure." And as it turns out, morals are relative has ruined the planet's operating systems and leaders. By once again believing in morality and truth in governing, all operating systems and all leaders can find the cure. This is the one for finances. Others will follow. When ugly immorality, wherein good is called evil and evil good, when leaders believe the best thing in the universe is doing evil for some cult crazy idea or the other, when the ends justifies all means, and all wretched means are employed, then to fix all this once we see the light, that governing needs to be truth and moral and law abiding, then it is truly a nasty piece of work to fix things. But have cheer, these things can be fixed. Yes, often by a nasty piece of work, but they can be fixed. Part of the immoral progressive education lie is that things can't be fixed, but things can be fixed. Things will be fixed. Progressive 1984 style education can be defunded and replaced with liberty education. Decline making immorality is reversed by A, general intelligence, B, morals, and C, love of laws and the Constitution. Like a beach ball held underwater, liberty comes up for air. The cure will be good. What about the assets our Federal Reserve has when it printed money and bought them? Let them sell them, if needed, on a rapid schedule of 6 selling installments in 6 months' time. Let our central bank sell all the assets it bought by printing money, then close that shop. A quick, experienced pain is better than an endless pain. We must close the Federal Reserve so that negative, zero, or near to nothing interest rates are not forced by pretend profit overlords unto an unwilling public again, or by a change in the election cycle. The cure will be tough, but good. Liberty is mutual allegiance to self-control. The mad central bankers have been out of control. They can be reined in. Liberty can thrive. You know, in 1964, a film called Mary Poppins by Disney revolved around a Banks family, which had no small confliction regarding the backstory of Mr. Banks' struggle to keep faith in England's turn-of-the-century fractional reserve lending system. In fact, a 2013 film called Saving Mr. Banks depicted a much harsher reality of the father of Mary Poppins' author, Pamela P.L. Travers. We learn daughter was trying to save her father. Yes, Mary Poppins and team in those fictional stories had an ultimate goal of repairing under redemption fractionally reserve broken Mr. Banks. So with love, humor, and a century's perspective, we now know the cure. Have we got the sickness? Yes. Are we ready? Yes. Send the cure? Yes. Our kites will fly.